Welcome back to Azure Terraformer. This is it. This is the 5th episode of my Azure DevOps Terraform module refactoring series, where we put the finishing touches on version 1.08 and get the auto reviewers set up in our branch policy, such that that group with all those users in it can be added to pull requests on the main branch, thus ensuring we have the right group of reviewers that are available, that are notified when a pull request comes in. We'll even go through a pull request process with my colleague at Azure Terraformer here, Kaiser Souza, who is an expert Terraform coder. I think you're going to like him a lot. But we'll get to that through a few hiccups trying to get the users added to that group. So I think I started off by using entitlements, and I didn't fully understand what that user entitlement resource was. And then we switched over to the Azure DevOps users data source. But I had some trouble figuring out the data structure that was coming out of it. Because I had a count and a nested list. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's a bit of a mess. But we got it figured out, and I've also included, just for people's sanity's sake, an example of how to use that Azure DevOps users resource data source, because it is definitely a bit of a brain buster. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. If you are, smash that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. And when you do, ring that bell. It really helps out the channel when you subscribe. I work every day trying hard to earn your subscription, and I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. That way you'll know when my next video drops, and we can continue terraforming Azure together. Anyways, without further ado, let's get started. So now that I have my reviewers groups that I'm creating for each environment, now I need to go figure out how can I, in my branch policy, okay, and in my branch policy, which I think is created by my pipeline. So my pipeline is going to get this stuff, and we're going to pass in the credential and all that stuff. So in my multi-stage pipeline, what I should probably add is the group. I should pass in like the information that I need to make my group, or at the very least, just like the reviewers collection. With this pipeline here, I really just need to set up, I really just need to pass in the group ID that is going to be the reviewers. So if I add to my branch policy a single item, which is going to be variable reviewers group, make that a string, and with the reviewers group in my pipeline, I need to go say reviewers group, and now I'm going to say on my module, on my reviewer group module, I'm going to say module, and so I do need an output, right? So this module needs to have an output. Not quite sure what it needs to be, but I'm pretty sure it's going to need to be like this, this descriptor. That's what it needs to be. So and let's just call it ID. Okay, since this is the group module and we're outputting the module's group ID. So I can just take this reviewers group, which is going to be this ID value, and I can pass that in as an input variable here. I should probably make this a group ID just to keep this like simple. Okay, now let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I mean, let's try it. It does not work. Neither repository ID can be set with match type default branch. So it does not like this default branch. So then with my match type of default branch, then I'm good. And I still don't need repo on there, right? So let's just stick with that. System GUID. So error creating a policy. Settings for this policy are not correctly formatted. Converting value blah 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 to a type GUID. Path reviewer IDs. Okay. So it does not like how the reviewer IDs are being set. Let's see if group has. So I'm using descriptor, but maybe I should output the ID, right? So in my group module, this is not right. I think I need to output the descriptor for the group, and then I need to output the ID. And I think that's going to change a lot of things. So let's see if the ID is going to output the GUID now. And if it's going to output the GUID, yeah. I don't know, that doesn't look right to me. The reviewer IDs, I think we're going to run into the same problem. So am I loading this properly? The group ID, the module reviewer group.id. I think it's going to give me the same error. Yeah. Reviewer IDs. So I wonder why the reviewer group is not outputting a GUID. So the reviewer group is being generated there. The branch policy is being generated there. We're grabbing the reviewer group ID from there. Let me just output let's just see what this does. Project ID. Auto reviewer IDs are still like that crazy long thing. Well, let me just turn off my branch policy because that's not working. And let me just like create the groups and just output the stuff and see what we got. Okay, so the group ID is not a GUID. I mean, let's just output that and see what happens. So we have, yeah, so the reviewer group ID is the same thing as a descriptor. So, I mean, like, I'm kind of running out of options here. Let's try the URL and see reviewer group URL. Does that include the GUID? I don't know. So the URL still does not have a GUID. Sometimes when working with a new Terraform provider, you have to learn about that provider. You have to learn about the underlying REST API in order to figure out what the data type looks like, what valid values are, and so forth. So here I am just trying to read the manual on the Azure DevOps REST API. Well, let's try that. I notice in the documentation there's a sample response object that has an origin ID, which is a GUID. So I'm going to use that. I mean, I think this is going to do it, right? So now if I can use that origin ID as the group ID, maybe it'll work. It worked. All right, let's go double check. So let me go look at the branch policy. Branch policy. So now I have a minimum number of reviewers is 1. I have Terraform code reviewers. That's not auto reviewer. Oh, there you go. Auto reviewer for dev. But I don't think I want to have, okay, so I was able to figure out how to get the projects to be added as the branch policy for auto reviewers. But the deal is I don't actually want a different review, because this is on the branch. I don't want a different group for each environment. So what I actually want is I'm going to create a single group. It's not going to be per environment. I'm just going to call this Terraform reviewers. I'm going to remove all of this stuff. I'm going to promote reviewers to a top level variable. Okay. I need to go update the TFRs here. Actually, no, I don't even set that there. It's happening right here. So when I come in with the multi-stage pipeline, it was on the environments object. But now it's going to be on the root, which is fine. So this is in my repo. And so instead of putting it at the environment level, I'm just going to drop it as a setting at the top level. Okay. So now I'm going to create a single group, Terraform reviewers. Wonderful. This is not going to be each.value. It's going to be var reviewers. And now I can just take this individual reviewer group and pass in a reviewer group ID. And this is going to be module. Now, is that right? I think it's still, I think I still need the origin ID. Yeah. I still want the origin ID, which is the GUID for the group. Okay. And so now inside my branch policy module, I'm not going to create a for each environment. I'm just going to set one reviewer group ID, and that'll be the Terraform users. Terraform reviewers. Okay. Now let's see if I screwed anything up, which I did. Branching policy needs a reviewer group. So now with that in place, I think we're in good shape. Okay, deleting user entitlement is the owner and cannot be deleted. Like instead of user entitlements, I should be using this Azure DevOps users thing. Instead of this user entitlement, I think what I should be doing is going and grabbing the users like this and setting them like that. And then when I go grab this, I don't actually need to use entitlements, and I can output the descriptor of the user. Now, however, I need to kind of blow away this, I kind of need to blow away this project though, because I I think it's kind of borked. So let me just delete this project, because I can't delete that user entitlement. Like, it's not going to go away. So let's try this. Yeah, main.descriptor, Azure DevOps users, undeclared. Yeah, it's undeclared resource because it's a data source. Yeah, and I think I just need to blow away the state and start over. So let's try this. Really? Data, Azure, I swear to God, this thing has a descriptor. You know, I don't understand how it doesn't have a descriptor, you know? It's really weird. So it's really mad. So after I converted from the user entitlements resource to the data source for the Azure DevOps users, I noticed a strange error that the Azure DevOps users data source did not have a descriptor on it. Now, after flailing about, trying everything I could think of under the sun to try and figure it out, I had to output the entire data source to see the data structure. Once I did this, I noticed that the user's data source had a map on it called users that had the descriptor within it, which meant I couldn't directly access the descriptor off the data source. I had to access the user's map off the data source and then access the descriptors off of that. The problem with this is, because I used the count meta argument on the data source, not only did I have a list of this Azure DevOps users data source, but each item in that list had its own map of users with a single item in it. So basically I have a nested list. In order to get around that, I had to use the for expression to iterate through the data sources, and for each data source access the user's map on that item. Then I use the flatten function to combine this nested list of lists into a single list of user descriptors. That's what you have to do. So I figured it out. It's not a bug like I thought it was. It is just ridiculously obtuse. I don't understand why it's like that, you know? But basically you have to, there's an array with a set of users, and you need to grab that users block off of there and then get the descriptor off of that. So I'm gonna just call this user descriptors, and we're gonna set this to be equal to local.user descriptors. And I gotta go up a folder. Yeah. So let me make sure my branch policy is there. So I need to bring that in there. Okay. Let me make sure my group is creating the members. It is. Okay. Let's try this again. And let's see, this should work now. Looks good. Let's go interrogate this thing, make sure we like it. So I'm going to go look out here. I've got all my pipelines. I've got all those things. Let me go to my branch policy. Oh, gotta go to the right repo. Look at my main branch. And look here, we got Terraform reviewers. And if I go look at my permissions, my Terraform reviewers has a bunch of members in it. So there we go. So we had a little bit of trouble there trying to access the descriptor from the Azure DevOps users resource. It's a pretty obtuse implementation, if I may say so. Seems like you should just be able to, off that data source, go grab the descriptors for all the users that come back, but they're actually nested on it's hidden in plain sight, but they're nested on a user's collection, which is a map on the return of that data source. So unless you really know what you're looking for, it's very easy to stumble over, as I did today. But yeah, so we have made some pretty significant updates. What do we have here? We have we added a group module, and this group module just takes in a project ID, a name, description, and members, and it outputs the ID of the group and a bunch of the other inputs, output values of that group so that you can use it. We updated our multi-stage Terraform repository to generate that group and to pass that group into the branch policy, so that the branch policy will attach that group to the build validation process, and make sure that we include that group as auto reviewers for pull requests. And so when we submit a pull request, those members of that group will be automatically included. They'll get emails, and at least one of them will be able to approve that pull request to move it forward, as long as it's not the original author. So let's go submit that pull request. I'm going to log in with the other user. I'm going to be Kaiser here. So Kaiser is a team member. Let me just add Kaiser to the team, because I think that's something that we'll probably want to add in the next episode, is to include not just reviewers but members. So now Kaiser can see this project. Let me go to this repo here. Let me go to my actual repo. I'm going to create a new branch. Kaiser's update. We are going to just add something to this. Hello world. We're going to commit that, and then we are going to submit a pull request. And so Kaiser sees that it's been added to the Terraform reviewers. We did not update the Terraform code, right? So this is not triggering those build validation steps. Let me go update the Terraform code, and I'm going to change the environment from West US to East US, and we're going to commit that, and that's going to update the pull request to trigger those build validation pipelines. And now these reviewers can come in here and review it. And so I'm going to switch over to myself. Okay. And I'm going to go look at the active pull requests. And I'm going to see that Kaiser's got this one here. And I'm going to approve it. And I'm going to set it to autocomplete. Actually, Kaiser could do that too, but I guess I'll just set it to autocomplete as well. And now once these build validation steps all pass, then this is going to get merged in, and the Kaiser's commit's going to go in there. So yeah, this provides a pretty good flow. We got down to one approver required. We've set up that approver in this Terraform reviewers group, and we've attached that group to be automatically included to review this code. And yeah, that's what the Git flow process looks like right now. So anyways, let me know what you think. I think there's a couple of things that we're probably going to add is now that we have that pull request process in place with reviewers and that, we need to include the users that are allowed to access this project by default, so that I don't have to go manually add Kaiser to this project again. And then after the pull request has been merged, I'd like the apply pipeline to automatically run. So that's coming up in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We're really digging into the Azure DevOps Terraform provider, and kind of iterating on the module library. Last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna publish this as version 1.08. It'll be out there and available through the module repo, so that you guys can all go start using it. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, smash that like button and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until next time, this is Mark Tinderholt, the Azure Terraformer, signing off.